People ask me sometimes what I miss about America. Just a few things. Steak, I miss steak a lot. Barbecue, I miss barbecue a lot. So this video is about barbecue. And my wife really likes barbecued ribs, so I try to keep some around. But a proper barbecue rib, needs to be smoked for at least 12 hours, really 24 hours on wood smoke to get the right flavor. But I have a pretty good trick that turns barbecue into a convenience food. And I'm going to share that with you. Now personally, I prefer my ribs dry, so I do a dry rub. But my wife really likes barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is a little bit of a problem here. You can find it if you look hard enough, but you can't really find good barbecue sauce. So I made one, and I think it's the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And I'll show you how I made it, and maybe you can make some too. So this is what I did. Got some ribs. And these are kind of hard to find in France for some reason. French just don't seem to eat a lot of ribs. And I don't understand that. But barbecued ribs are one of the first things I ever made with sous vide, using the sous vide method, that I was really blown away by. Because a proper rib, to get that proper texture, pull it off the bone but it doesn't fall off the bone, and to get that right smoking kind of flavor, well, it's tough, and it really takes about 24 hours on a smoker. So it's not a convenience food, which is kind of too bad because it's one of my wife's favorite things to eat. Well, I turned something that used to take 24 hours on a smoker, a reasonably well-attended fire, unless you have some fancy Traeger type pellet smoker. I can turn that into something I can have ready in 10 or 15 minutes and really have just as good a flavor as I ever would have otherwise. All right, I think I've got enough little bags. I'm going to start by making my bags, just kind of get them done and out of the way. Because my Amazon's cheapest sealer, it's kind of slow and tedious. I'm really tickled to find these, but these were like €6.95 a kilo, so that's about $3 a pound. And it's not a great price, but it's an acceptable price. Meat's expensive here. All right, so while the bags are working, I'm actually going to cut these in half. Half of a rack is a decent portion, and it'll just make it easier to fit into my sous vide bath. I'm just going to grab one bone roughly in the middle, follow the bone down with the knife. And I'm using a boning knife for this just because it's easier. Get a cleaner cut. That one I might leave whole. So I think I've got more bags than I need. because I'm actually going to double up in most of these bags. But that'll save me a step on the next time I go to do this. So I've got my dry rub mix, and I'll put the recipe at the end of this. In case you didn't see my dry rub pork tenderloins. But you should probably watch that if you want to know how to assemble this properly. But if you want to cheat and just go to the recipe, that's cool. That's what I would do probably. All right. I actually want these coated really pretty well. Do my usual trick of folding the bag inside out. Now a lot of barbecue masters will have you show you how to remove the membrane off of these ribs so that they're tender all the way through. And I'd just like to say that that's yet one more advantage to the sous vide method. These are going to be crazy tender without having to remove anything, without any more complicated butchering. All right, I'm gonna rinse my hands so I can load up some more bags.
We Sherpa people have a great respect for the mountain. We call Everest Chumaluma.
That one's not doing anything.
She is the mother god of the earth. You must respect her as a sanctity. She is a sanctity.
You know, it seems to be pulling the vacuum, so it could be the bag, but more likely it's the vacuum sealer itself. Try another bag first. Maybe it was the bag. Normally I like to, in the summer, something like this that I'm going to be sous vide for so long, I'll actually run an extension cord and do it out on the balcony, put the heat out there. But this is early November, the day after American Election Day, and I want to do it indoors. So normally, because I'm worried about the hot water and the heat and all of that sort of stuff warping something, I will do it on the stove. Man, this kitchen's getting fuller and fuller. So I have this incredibly warped cutting board. So I'm going to put it bow side up on here. So that's going to give me some insulation, protect the cutting boards that I use all the time. Hopefully, maybe that cutting board will go straight. And hopefully this will all fit in my pretzel bucket. No, maybe not. Yeah, that was a great idea, but that's not going to work. I like using little pretzel buckets for a couple of reasons. One is I can put a lid over it and have less evaporation. And it's been raining for a couple of weeks straight. Well, really just since confinement began. So I really don't need the extra humidity in here. And I also don't like having to add so much water. I'm going to bring it right up to the max line on my cooker. All right, power on. Temperature 132. Time 24 hours. Okay, the red light means it's heating because it's only at 96.9. It'll heat pretty fast and the timer will start once it gets there. I'll check with you again tomorrow. It's really important to shock whatever you're sous videing in cold water. It does a couple of things. One is it gets our temperature down quickly, keeps food out of the danger zone for bacteria. The other thing it does is it'll help pull an even harder vacuum. All these seals look good, but it'll pull an even harder vacuum once it gets cold. And that also helps keep the food safe. And the third thing it does for us is it'll suck some of those juices that have leaked out of the meat back into the meat. So the meat will be tender and moist. If I was still in Texas, I would have to empty my ice maker into here as well. But this is November in France, and my water is less than 60 degrees, as opposed to more than 80 degrees that I'm used to. So this will be at Well, we're still under lockdown, or as we call it here, the confinement. Or actually, we're calling it Ray confinement because this is the second time we've been through this, which means I'm not allowed to go camping, which means I'm going to use the air fryer for these ribs. And I was thinking about that. I'd rather do this over a fire, really a wood fire. But in America, I always went with my Instacook pot. I'm just going to baste these with some of the homemade barbecue sauce, which we have a video for. And then I'm going to air fry this. So I would never carry this air fryer with me here because I never have AC electricity when I'm camping, or very rarely. I guess sometimes in the summer I do, because I'll go to a campground in the summer when I want to run all the fans and keep cool. But certainly 9 months of the year we just wild camp, and I don't have a lot of it. You know, this 1,000 watts would zap my batteries pretty fast running an inverter. So I think I'm just going to do it this way when I'm at home, and when I'm camping I'll do it over fire. And we'll see how this works for us, but stay tuned. So I think I'm ready to press go on this. I'm going to go for 20 minutes on the air crisp. Have no idea what that's going to do with the sauce on it, but hopefully it'll be yummy and delicious. Alright, so almost 10 minutes has gone by. It's looking good. I think we'll be alright. Wonder if I should add a little more sauce. I guess I can start by spreading that around. I usually do these dry, but I have the sauce open in the fridge, so we'll do it this way to try to please my wife. Okay, it's dinged. Let's see if it's done. And then that looks really, really good, I think. All right, I need to get the potatoes and celery out of the oven, and dinner can be served. The ribs in the air fryer really came out good. They had a great flavor. Basting them with the barbecue sauce in the air fryer, that really worked well too. I still would prefer to cook them over a campfire, or at least a gas grill, but that's more because of the ambiance, not the flavor. I got a really good flavor out of these, and I really liked them, and it's almost enough for me to consider carrying this machine with me when I know I'm going to be camping with electricity. Almost, but not quite. There's some things about America that I really miss, and I made a list of them. Big and tall clothes, because I am both big. Other things I miss about the ability to buy food, flag shirts, anytime I want. Peaceful transition of power, 7 days a week. You can go about America and buy food. Maybe America's missing that. Here, I don't know. You can't shop for anything on a Sunday. Some bakeries are open, and almost perfect credit rating mattering. Because along with that, I miss giant paychecks. Just doesn't. I never thought I had a giant paycheck. Things don't cost as much here, but you don't have as much money. Miss giant parking spaces, all about, especially since my only car is. Well, really, I miss giant anything. Miss women with that are wearing too much trashy woman in spiky shoes that you don't get to see here, or the silly shoes they wear. Insurance. But what I really miss, I miss barbecue.